interesting once you hear stuff.
We're going to get going now. On behalf of CEPTA, I'd like to welcome everybody here. Thank you very much for attending, and I want to thank the members of CEPTA that helped me set up and everything. That was very handy, and all the guests. I just have a couple things here I can just go over. Again, the basic stuff, restrooms are in the back. There are some coffees and donuts and things over here. Again, that's some are homemade. And there are handouts on one table over here and some up here too, if you want afterwards. Or if there's anything that you want people to have now that would be handy. Okay. There's a commentator papers over there that's very good for like letting you know what's going on in the area here. You can grab one of those. Future topics that we're going to have for next month. You all remember Doug Reichley, he was the 134th representative, now he's the judge. Is this better? I'm sorry. He will be here next month, and he's going to talk on topics with, like the Pennsylvania Constitution and how that may help us with, just in Pennsylvania, in the local area. And that will be on the 19th of June, so Tuesday, the end of the third Tuesday of the month. And if anybody signed in, if you do have email or anything, or you want to put your address down and you want correspondence, we can do that. If you have email, it's easy. If you have a letter, we do send little cards out for reminders. If you want to mark it down, that would be good too. We are recording all these sessions, and we ask that nobody else records. We will provide copies of the films to whoever wants them, and they'll also be online. We have a site, if you type that in your search engine at www.epcat.us, you can go there and see this on it and a whole bunch of other things, the school board, borough, and separate programs. And now we'll start the meeting, and I'd like to start with first, if we would just remember everybody in the civil and the military, past, present, that gave and given themselves for our safety and our freedoms. And just keep that in mind. It's going on as we speak now, so that we can do the things we're doing right now. And with that, if we could have the pledge to the flag. Today's session, unlike the other two previous ones, we asked all the presenters from those two previous ones to come, and because they gave a presentation of what their schools are with a short period for questions and answers, this one was going to invite all of them back at the same time, and then you can ask whatever question you would like of them. It's pretty much of a free-for-all too. If you have things you'd like to present that way that you think is important, that's all right too, but mostly I'd like to see if there's any questions that the public would have for these. We have Elaine Butler and Veronica Farr from the Achievement House Cyber Charter School. Mixed up. Susan File, who's from our 7 Generations Charter School. She's the CEO from there, so she'll represent our local area. And then Paulette Lavenberg, who will do the homeschool. So if there's any questions on that too, she has practical experience with it, and hopefully will be able to answer your questions. And with that, if anybody has questions, if not, I have a few that we can do to start, but I'll let it go from there. And I'll ask if you would mind using the microphone just so it comes up more. Thank you.
My name is Mike Montero. There is a start date or a cutoff date for kindergarten in the East Penn, which is at the 9th or the 10th. And from what I understand, everyone tries to mirror the school district, what they do. Is there any leeway with charter schools or anything like that, or is it, you know, if you're not 10 years old, whatever time, you can't participate in kindergarten? Is there any leeway?
Alrighty. For our school, 7 generations, yes, there is leeway in that the charter school can decide what their cutoff date is. So I just have been at the school for almost a year now, and they had a cutoff date of August 20th. So we did our enrollment this February, and there were 2 little ones that were September birthdays, and the parents wanted us to accept them, and we had an early admissions policy. So we discussed it at a board meeting, and also Dr. Seidenberger talked to me about the fact that East Penn, I think their date is September 19th or something, and that it would make sense that we would have the same date. Why, you know, why would we not have the same date as East Penn? Because if a student was eligible for kindergarten at 7 Gen, but not eligible for kindergarten at East Penn, or it would be vice versa. If they were eligible to go to East Penn because their cutoff date wasn't until September 20th, then how would we not have them? So we decided that moving forward, we have changed the same date as East Penn because it made the most sense.
And I guess what I'm asking is, so let's just say the cutoff date is the 20th. My daughter turns that age, that magic age 5 days later. You know, is there any leeway? Of course, you know, the forum to why that date was picked is for over there. It seems like a very weird, arbitrary date. Parkland has October 1st. Exactly. You know, some places have December 31st. And yeah, that was the question. You know, is there any leeway? It's 5 days.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this has been a kind of a problem forever. You know, it's like a random date. And, you know, in the old days, it was January 31st. You know, so on the other hand, if you say, oh, okay, 5 days, the child can come in, then what about 6 days? Or what about someone that says, well, my child's for 7 days? Then you're kind of, you don't have a date. So it's difficult. And so basically, since now that we changed our date, we're going to do our best to stick to that date.
I would love to be able to give you a good answer. However, we are just going to be introducing kindergarten through 6th grade this coming September. So since we haven't got our official charter right now, I don't have a date. In fact, that question just came up this morning, and we vowed we would speak with the principal about it later on this week, and haven't had a chance to it. Now, we are a statewide school as a cyber school, so you can imagine the variety of start dates across the state. We'll have to choose something as arbitrary probably as any other. We do intend to do a little bit of assessment for our kindergarten students to make sure that they are mature developmentally to start the program, but I can't really say exactly when that date will be.
As a homeschooler, you can pretty much start whenever you want. There is officially to report to the school system. You don't have to do that until they're 8 years old or they're entering 3rd grade, whichever comes first. So you kind of have a lot of leeway in that case. Most kindergartners, I think, are in the 6-year-old range. 5? Okay, 5. So with that, you can homeschool the first year and then enroll them in 1st grade by the start date. I don't know if that helps.
If I could ask a question on that thing for homeschooling, and you teach your child, is it a difficult thing to do, or they give you a plan and say these are things you must do for kindergarten?
No. Homeschooling is not difficult. At least I didn't think it was difficult in those early years. You can find curriculum all over the place. and as simple as going even to Walmart and finding McGraw, I think is one of the brand names they carry, and they have a whole kindergarten program of math skills and things like that. Kindergarten is your basics, and if you can teach them the basics, that will prepare them for even if you put them in school that following year. Some kids just aren't, and you talked about it, being ready to enter school. They might be ready on some levels. They might be ready mentally, but maybe not ready to handle the whole time that they have to stay in class and sit there and that type of thing. For me, when I started, I just didn't feel my son was ready to go to school and to be around the kids. He was very much a follower, and the people that he was around, I didn't think were necessarily the kids that I wanted him to be following. So I made the choice to school one step at a time, one day at a time, and it ended up to be something that we just continued doing. But I looked at it from that perspective. I can teach him his numbers, his alphabet, the beginnings of reading, and that type of thing. And so I did, with kind of in the back of my mind, oh, maybe we will put him in school, but he'll have that good foundation. So that's how I began it, and it wasn't difficult. I didn't go out and spend a lot of money on curriculum for kindergarten, but there's so much out there to research. If you just put in curriculum on the internet, you'll get all sorts of things coming up and books to order from, and there's just so much out there.
More on it as far as two parents that are working, they have their kid, can they do it after, like, they
Absolutely.
get home?
There is no
How long do you
rule.
think you have to invest in time a day?
Kindergarten?
Yeah.
Kindergarten is fun. You know, it's not hard. Kindergarten is playing with your child and interacting and counting, and you know, kindergarten was just fun for the kids. We just made it fun, and it could be an hour a day, and it didn't have to be you're going to sit down here and you're going to do a lesson. You made it what it was, and everybody's different. There are families that homeschool that are very traditional, just like a school, where they'll have a classroom, they'll sit their student down and they have to do so many hours. I wasn't that strict. As they got older, you have to be more disciplined, and I think that's part of growing in homeschooling, that you become more disciplined in that they can sit down for longer lengths of time. When it was kindergarten, first grade, second grade, we did a lot of field trips, a lot of group activities where we would meet up with other homeschoolers and do art projects and craft things, and you'd go to the park and you turn that into a lesson in, you know, science, or, you know, those types of interactive type of things. It's not always about putting a book in front of them and giving them that information. It's the world around you, learning from what's out there, baking with your child, those kind of things that you learn, just daily, everyday things.
If I could just carry on a little more.
Sure.
Again, like, you got a parent like that, they come home and maybe in Mike's case, geez, I missed that date. I have to wait a whole year now before I can start in kindergarten or first grade or whatever. But really, if you can spend a little bit of time, you are qualified, and you can do everything you need so your child will get to kindergarten during the regular time you want them.
My understanding is that yes, you can come home from work and you can do your lessons. However you plan your day, you know, whatever you want to accomplish. You know, I set out, this is what I want to accomplish by the end of the year. And when you're in kindergarten, I didn't have to declare that to anyone. This is just what I wanted to do. And so if it didn't work that day, if it was a meltdown kind of day, then that day was just put aside and you just move on. But I wanted them to have the basics, that if I decided that they should go to school that following year, they would be tested into the school. When you enter, and I'm assuming it's the same for you guys, that if they were to enter into first grade, they would have to do some type of testing? No. Okay, so I would just come to you and say, okay, I'm going to enter my child in first grade. Okay, They don't have to do any testing. They could just be entered into first grade. I think as it gets older, do they have to test in? Assessment testing. So kindergarten is really one of those that if you have the time and you want to spend the time, you can do it at home. And there's nobody looking over you saying, this is right, this is wrong. It's really up to you. And then you say, okay, now they're old enough, they can enter first grade. Did I answer that okay? Okay.
I heard Paulette mention about taking trips to the park and the like. And I've also seen the students from 7 generations out in the community doing certain visits. Could you touch upon that aspect of the curriculum and how it develops for students? I'm asking the 7 generations.
Oh, sure. Yes. That's a really important part of our curriculum. What we know is that real life learning is very powerful for children. So, instead of reading about local government in a textbook, they may visit, the city hall or some other place of that nature. Instead of studying something in a book, they will go to, the first graders now are doing a unit on plants, and they've been visiting various farms, not just one farm, but many farms to compare and contrast what they're seeing. And it's just amazing. It's bringing learning, it's not keeping learning in the box of a classroom, it's being in the real world. So it's so multifaceted, much more than just reading about something in a book. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Charlie?
We're still holding the mic, so I have a question for you. Is there any restriction on your school size, or just the fact of what size your building is, what you can do?
That's a good question. So the charter, which was, we've been in existence 3 years, and the charter states that we will have it says we will have 45 students in each grade level, and that's what we have. Now, we have this wait list, and it's sad to turn children away. We've talked about, well, could we just make it 46, but truly we want to keep to the charter and, not fool with that number. But we could, if we wanted to expand and say add another grade at each grade level, we'd have to go to the East Penn School Board for an amendment to allow that.
Could you also go to them for an amendment for a bigger school? More than 45 students per class?
Yes, eventually we could, but right now, because we're adding a grade each year, so we're already getting 45 new students each year just by our charter. So I think for now we have what we can handle, as we grow the school each year and add a grade. But like I said, it's sad to have this wait list, and there's not much we can do about it right now because of our limited resources. We're pretty much got all we can handle as far as that goes.
Give them the mic and let them answer about class size and school size.
As a cyber school, we're not limited to class size. When we get more students, we hire more teachers. It's as simple as that with us. And we have throughout the year. We've grown from about 600 at the beginning of the year to about 850 by the end of the year. And we have had to add mentors who guide and counsel the students. We've had to add reading specialists and other teachers because our classes are getting larger. As far as class size, students do attend live classes online for every subject that they take. They're doing it in their own home, so it feels like they're one-on-one with the teacher, but in reality, a teacher could have a list of about 20 or so, or possibly more, who are attending the class all at the same time. However, class attendance live isn't mandatory, and many of our students watch our recorded classes. We record all of our live classes. So in some cases, their schedules don't allow them to attend live class. Some of our students have jobs or medical conditions or different situations in their lives. So they will be watching the class after the fact. So typically our class is about 20 or so students at a time.
While you have the mic, what does the term cyber mean? Can you just give a brief description of what the cyber school is?
Yes. Our students take all of their coursework via computer over the internet. So they are each issued a laptop by us, and we reimburse our families for the internet cost. So it is truly a tuition-free public school, just as a charter school would be, or your own district's public school. There's no cost to the parents or to the family at all. We give them the laptop, we give them the equipment, we give them either physical books and materials or online books that they use. And during their scheduled class times, they would log into the computer and join a teacher via like a webcast. All of the other students would be attending. There's interaction. They can ask questions and answer questions. They see live, our teachers actually teach them classes for 45 minutes at a time. And most subjects meet 2 times a week. English and math usually meet 3 times a week live, like a college schedule. So for example, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 o'clock English class, a Tuesday, Thursday, 11 o'clock science class. On the other days of the week when there are no live classes meeting for those students in that subject, they have independent homework. So there is something that they do every single day in every subject that they have. Some of it live, some of it on their own. And that could be taking tests, reading novels, doing research, creating PowerPoint presentations. It's a wide variety of assignments that they would have.
They don't go into a class room as such. It's all done online.
Well, that's the interesting thing. The majority of our students study at home.
Yeah.
However, we have 3 centers where students can actually come and gather together live. Now, the teacher doesn't teach the class live. They still take their classes via computer, but they can come, spend the day. There are other activities going on during the day. In some cases, we have our staff come and tutor them, give them extra help. In some cases, the staff at the center is independently run, so someone will provide them with music lessons or art lessons or gym classes beyond our education. So there are currently 3 centers in the state, 1 in Chester and 2 on the western part of the state, and we are actively seeking more centers where our students can come for a more blended environment that combines the social interaction, the hands-on mentoring and teaching and tutoring, and the extracurricular activities.
Where do you exactly get all your money from?
From your school district.
In other words, you're taking the kids away from our school district, they're claiming that they're overcrowded, so that's full somewhere.
Well, and it is interesting that we don't take all of the money that you get from your school district is allotted a certain amount per child.
Right.
And just like the charter school, we get a portion of that, not a full pay. So in many cases, we're supplying services for less, and in some cases doing it better.
Years ago, when we went to school, we had a tablet, pencils, and all the other stuff. Now, they don't do that. What is your school fee?
Well, we give you a laptop and a printer and a headset. The notebook is on you.
Yeah.
When he went to school, they gave him a slate.
You laugh, but in high school, they don't give you anything.
They have chalk.
And yet your taxes are going up, but where that's money going to? They're not going to get like the computer, but you don't have anything else. They don't give you any extras, anything extra the parents have to pay for.
I got a question. It was interesting. We took a tour of the Catholic school right up in St. Anne's because there were friends there, and they said, oh, it's an open house, so we went. And there was a lab that they had. It was a computer lab that kids came into and did things. And the interesting part is they each had like some kind of handheld thing for answering the questions, which I would see would happen with yours, where the teacher asks a question and then all the kids answer. It's not one of these, uh-oh. You know, they all answer and the teacher knows what's going on and they know who to, you know, address because of that. So, I mean, that sounded interesting. The kids didn't have to worry about, you know, geez, I gave the wrong answer, you know, and the other one's going to maybe guide along. Is that pretty similar with yours? The kids all answer a question?
They can. The teacher sees the list of the students in the class. So each student's name as they pop into class is listed. And there are a number of ways they can interact. Some of them are with icons. So, for example, if the teacher says, "Did you understand how I got the answer to this question?" If you did, you know, give me a smiley face or give me a check mark. We have a raise your hand icon. So a student can raise their hand and the teacher can call on the student to answer or ask a question. There is also a chat box where they can type in a question or an answer and it scrolls through so the teachers can see that. And in many of our classes, we have a second teacher, a co-teacher, generally a special education teacher. So while the traditional teacher may be delivering material, if there are questions that pop up in that question box, that second teacher is going to be addressing those questions so that the teacher and the other students aren't necessarily distracted.
In your high school here in East Penn, if you go through there, they have rooms too where they hook up into the floor and they have the computer areas right there at the desk.
Veronica and I do. That's our job. We are the orientation specialists.
At what age?
Well, our school is currently 7 through 12. We will be moving K through 6 come September. Kindergarten. Yeah. I see this gentleman's been.
Thank you. I have a question for Paulette and the homeschooling. And you may have touched upon this when you were here last time, I just don't remember. When a parent homeschools, does that go K through 12 or is there some, I don't know, where you have to send them?
No, you can go K through 12, all the way through.
Right,
And there's diploma, you can get your diploma, I'd have to do more research on it because I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but there are ways to get a diploma when you homeschool.
And do you have any idea who issues that diploma?
I don't. I know there's different organizations that you have to go through. Just because I haven't been to that, I'm not at that point. I know it's available. I just haven't done any other research on it yet.
And required testing, is that every grade level? Or?
Not at every grade level. I believe it's, let's see, 3rd, 5th, 8th is your like CAT test, standardized testing. Then it will be 11th grade is your PSSA, and I think again your 12th grade is your SATs. Is that pretty standard? Okay.
Thank you.
Hold the mic.
Okay.
Hold the mic. Are you able to share homeschooling with other homeschoolers? Or
Your duties?
What?
Like your duty, like your teaching?
Well, if somebody else has got 2 or 3 people who are homeschooling and you have some projects you want to do, can you drop your children off to be homeschooled by them? Or vice versa?
Absolutely.
Can you share duties?
You can absolutely. You can homeschool pretty much however you wish. As long as once you hit 3rd grade or 8 years old and you have to report to your school district, you have to, in the beginning of the year, let them know what you intend to do, what your objectives are. So you should have an objective of getting from this point to that point. As long as you do those objectives, you can achieve that however you like. There's a lot of co-ops that will get together. One person will teach science to all the students. So you can do it all on your own. You can do it as a team, as parents. A grandparent can do it. Whomever you wish to have teach your child in a homeschool setting can do so. Even if you had two parents that work and you had another individual that says, yes, I will homeschool your child, they can do that.
I have
You paid by the school district, you getting paid by the school district also?
No. I get absolutely nothing. The only thing that my kids can partake in sports.
Right.
So they can participate in any of the sports. Maybe, I believe, the band, there's certain things that they can partake in.
And everything else is up to you.
Everything else is up to me. I buy my own curriculum. Sure.
I think you all touched on it, but I guess we'll call it the standardized test, even if they're not in public school, the students still have to go through those tests as well.
Yes.
No.
No. I can't speak for private.
Yes, private school, no.
They have no standardized testing.
The school will probably have some, but they don't have to take the state, high stakes testing like the public schools do.
So in city 7 Gen, they don't have to take those tests?
We do, we're a public school.
Yeah, you can use the microphone.
Okay.
Yes, public schools, whether they're cyber or charter or regular public schools, all have to take the Pennsylvania State Student Assessments, which are the high stakes tests that came about through the No Child Left Behind Act. Parochial schools, parochial private schools usually do some sort of a normed assessment, but they don't have to take those high stakes assessments. Their school, will report their data, but they're not going to get into corrective action. They may lose some students if their scores aren't high, but it's whatever test they want to do, they can do.
And I guess the last question, this is for you, is there an age, if there's a waiting list? My daughter's 2.5. We're actually fascinated by the way charter schools work and the hands-on approach. I took her tour of the 1803 house, and the president of the board said that you'll actually bring the kids over to read a book in the 1803 house so that they get the feeling of what it was like.
Yeah.
I find that incredible. I think that's fascinating. So is there a certain time limit before one would register that you have to get out, or do you say, well, in 3 years, we put your name in the hat?
Yeah, and we get asked this question a lot. The way it works is, and this is by law, charter school law, that so your daughter, the year before she would be eligible for kindergarten, that winter, in February, we have what's called enrollment night.
Right.
That's when the applications are available to enroll for the following school year. And it's really interesting, and I experienced my first live lottery this spring. So for our school, there's a pecking order. There's a list of founding members of that school that worked tirelessly over 2 years. And I want to say there's about 60 of people on that list. So founding members' children are the first ones that get into any openings. So for kindergarten this year, let's say there were 6 children, kindergarten coming into next year that were children of founding members, so they're in. The next ones that get in are children that have siblings in the school. So there are, a number of children, again, I don't remember exactly how many, that get the next spot. Then it goes to children who live in the East Penn district. So that is who comes in next. Then after that is when it goes to the lottery, unless it's already filled. So in other words, if between founding members and siblings, there's only 5 spots and there's 15 kids from East Penn that want to go in, that's a lottery. So this year, by the time we got through East Penn, we only had 6 openings. And oh my goodness, that lottery night, it doesn't matter if you're there or not. If your name gets picked, you're in. But people came. So, we had a table like this set up with the hat, so to speak, and we were pulling out names. and the people are in the audience, and you know, they're just sitting there, and some of them have their children with them. And as each name gets picked and they don't get picked, it was really, you can't even look at it, you know. And someone who has two children in the school was telling me, she has a kindergartner and a first grader. She said when she went for the first year to get her son in, when he got picked in the lottery, she didn't even want to look happy because she felt so badly for the other people. It's awful. It's just really, you know, it's just where we are in the change in public school, and hopefully someday, I mean, regular public schools don't have to turn kids away, why do we? You know, so hopefully that will change going forward. Because it's really sad. But we really can't do anything about it now. Like I said, we have our hands full. I mean, we have limited resources, and we are providing, you know, for the kids, all that stuff, building. Oh, we had, oh, I should have worked, I'm sorry.
As a charter school, what I see at school board meetings is the public schools put you through a rope. Like, you gotta be so perfect when they're failing. And I have a hard time seeing why, you know, I don't want you to fail, but I see the public schools, the administrators and the school boards put you through the rope, like, oh, you didn't cross your T over here, you know, and they didn't cross any T's for 15 years. So how is it for you to do your charters and face the public school and with the money? A lot of people think our taxpayer money, you're getting extra money from us, and I'm trying to tell them, no, it's just that the school don't get 100%. What is the percentage that you get versus public school?
It's 80-20. So the child comes with X number of dollars, we get 80%, and 20 stays in the school district. And we have 19 school districts that feed into our school, and each school district is different, you know, as much as how much they give towards each child. So it is fascinating, and you're right, we worked really hard this year. And we did, you know, my feeling was, hey, you know what, we're going to meet their demands. We don't want to, you know, we need to be able to answer the questions, to show the documentation of everything we're doing. But the challenge was, you know, I am the only administrator. We have, yeah, and we don't have a lot of people. We have a lot of volunteers. The Board of Trustees has been unbelievably supportive. So it's really, and I'm a career educator. I was in parochial school for 8 years, and then I lived in Bethlehem, and my husband got transferred to Rhode Island, and I became a public school teacher, which was quite a shock for me. But I, you know, got through, and then this came up, and it's fascinating. Thank you for your understanding.
What is it? Give us a definition of a charter school. Why is it different? It's under the public school, but it's not. What is a charter school?
Well, from what I know, and I'm still learning about, I think about 20 years ago, there was legislation in our country that allowed for a group of people or an organization to propose an alternative school that would still be a public school, but would be offer choice for people, for the public. And so legally, the group had to come up with a charter which kind of had to follow all these legalities and say, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, from, like you said, for every little detail. And then it has to go before the school board of the district in which that school is located. And it has to be okayed by the school board. That's in this state, I guess, at this time. And this is like, you know, like again, this is like a hot topic going on, and there's lots of different things being proposed to change it. But the bottom line was that it was a way for there to be a public school that would be different than the regular program. So you have to come up with what's different. Like there's a charter school in Bethlehem, you probably have heard of, the Lehigh Valley Performing Arts High School. And they're just adding a 5 to 8 middle school. And some of our students auditioned and got accepted. And, you know, I had a mom come to me yesterday very sad to tell me that her daughter was accepted and she's going to transfer over. So, you know, it's a choice. And we're more focused on the environment, and it's more than just an environmental school. It's using the local community for children to learn. So everything, when they're working on the curriculum, it's about what's a real life problem. Like, you know, the third grade was studying about shad and how they're, you know, they've been endangered or close to endangerment because of the watershed, and so then they actually got to raise shad. You know, we have we have a big network of community partners that, you know, we got fish eggs, and the kids raise them and then release them over at Wildlands. You know, so it's amazing, like all the things that go on. So that's what the charter school movement is. And I worked in public schools, and like, you know, I was a principal. I taught for a long time, but then I became an administrator, and I had to do what the district said. So the district said, here's the textbooks you're going to use, here's the curriculum you're going to follow, you know, here's the schedule. And I used to think, oh, I wish we were a charter school. Then I end up, you know, having this wonderful opportunity at a charter school. But when I first started and we needed something, I think, oh, let me call central office. Oops, wait a minute. We have no central office. We are it. Like, we can't call anybody. So we've got to figure it all out, which is awesome, but it's not easy. It's hard.
Do you have a school building?
Yes, but we rent it.
Okay, but
we have a building. Oh, yes.
You're almost a private school, but you're still under the thumb of the public.
Yeah, it's almost like a hybrid. Like we have great parental involvement, because in order for these children to be there, some parent had to bring them. Not all our parents are as involved as we'd like them to be, but automatically we have that more than a regular public school often.
This might go for all three. What happens in the event that you propose something to a school board and for whatever reason, or maybe no logical reason at all, it gets voted down? Is there an appeal process? Like, can you go over the head? Like, how does that work?
Because this doesn't apply to a cyber charter school, at least a Pennsylvania the Department of Education chartered school. Unlike this charter school and unlike the cyber charter school that is a part of the East Penn School District, we are chartered by the state of Pennsylvania, not by a school district, so we don't answer to any school districts. We are our own district, so I'll pass.
They some advantages.
See what it is when you're a hybrid? That's all.
Yes, and what they call us are brick and mortar charter schools. Because we are in a building, we have all the problems and challenges of being in a building. Like when we had the mold this year, and it was the night before the district was supposed to do their big visit, and I had to contact Dr. Seidenberger and say, sorry to have to tell you this, but we're going to have to postpone your visit because I have to close the school with the results we just got about our mold. And you asked about something else. Oh, if we get rejected. And that happened to 7 Gen. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories since I moved back and become part of the school community. So I guess when they first proposed the charter to the school board, so you're only going back 1, 2, 3, like 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago, the school board denied the charter. So the founding members got together and, you know, got some expertise from, you know, advice from experts and said, okay, we're going to do an appeal. So they wrote this big amendment. It's like this thick And we just had to redo that and fine tune it. But they've got final approval. Were any of you there? It sounded like it was pretty dramatic. So it was like by one vote, they got the charter, and it was May. And so where the building is, it's an old silk mill. It was just a big room. So between May and September, they got that school built with classrooms and everything else, and mostly volunteers.
Now, you said it's 80-20. Is there a tuition to make up that other 20?
No.
So you have teachers, rent, a curriculum, 80% of the funds, and successful.
But they don't have 90% of the administrators.
Well, no, I mean, you know, this is, I mean, it really has no bearing on this discussion. But you know, as a former mayor in New York, looking at budgets is something I had to do a lot. And when you can do less with more, and there's other things happening that aren't doing the same, it just raises eyebrows and it makes you wonder, why you would have to jump through hoops to provide something that is quite efficient. Quite efficient,
Otto? Unless there's an answer.
I've been attending East Penn school board meetings for quite a number of years, and I've heard school board members and the administration make the statement that charter schools do not stand up to public schools when it comes to standardized tests, or you don't take the same standardized tests. Do you have any response to that?
Yes. We take the exact same standardized test. Now, 7 generations, and I certainly can take no credit for this. So the first year they were open, K to 4. So the standardized test started at grade 3. So their 3rd graders and their 4th graders had to take the state test. When you take those tests, there's something that is called AYP, which stands for Adequate Yearly Progress. And there's all these different indicators that your students have to score a certain point in the different areas. You have to have a certain number of children that took the test, so you have to, in order to meet that target, all your students have to take the test. So you can't tell students that would rather not have to take the test. Well, you don't have to come to school tomorrow, and then your scores are higher. So the first year they met all their targets. Last year they were K to 5, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th took the same test. Again, they met all the targets. So that qualified the school for what's called a Keystone Award. Any school that meets those state targets 2 years in a row gets a Keystone Award. So the school got the Keystone Award. Now, we don't know the results from this year yet, but, and I say, the 7 Gen isn't for the faint of heart. Like, to work there, you have limited resources. Our teachers don't get paid as much as the East Penn public school, other public schools. They don't get paid. They get, more than a parochial school, but not as much as a regular public school. And they're dedicated. We get so many applicants when we post positions, which we're in the process of doing. It's incredible.
I'm sorry, did you have a comment on that?
I do. Not only do we take the PSSA tests, but you wouldn't believe the effort we go to get those kids into PSSAs. We have to go to them. So we rent rooms in libraries and hotels all across the state, and we assign each student who's eligible for the PSSAs a location. And we send our staff all over the state for days at a time to get these kids in. And if they don't come, we're calling them. We're on the phone. We're talking to their parents. Sometimes we're at their house knocking on their door because we have to have all those kids take the test. And we get it done. We met our quota for that this year. I will be honest with you, like I was when I first did my presentation. A cyber school is a different animal, and our results are not always as good as we would like them. We have made annual yearly progress, AYP, except for I believe there was one point that we were, subcategory that we missed it last year. And I'll tell you, we at Achievement House pride ourselves in being the school of second chances. The students that often come to us come from a number of situations. They could be coming from a failed school district like Chester Upland, for example. They could be coming from horrific situations in their homes. They come to us because they've been bullied. They come to us because they've been out of school for 2 years because they have children. They come to us because they have to work full-time to support their families. These are not necessarily the most, they're not the best and the brightest in every case. We have those too. We have very, very motivated students who score very highly on tests. But in many cases, we have to work with what we get. And there is another measure, it's called the PVAS. It's the Pennsylvania Value Added Score. And we prefer to use the PVAS scoring because that tells you what happens to a student after you've had them for a certain amount of time, as opposed to where you got them. And our PVAS scores are in good shape. So.
As a teacher, you said you're a public school teacher. I've talked to a lot of public school teachers, and to me, I tell them wear their army boots and their protective gear, especially in Allentown. The teachers in charter schools and cyber, they're not paid the same way, and they're not tenured. What is the difference between your teachers and public school when you're getting higher grades and we're getting failure years for 15 years in Allentown at higher rates?
In our school, everyone, including myself, gets a one-year contract. That's it.
And you can be fired if the teacher's not meeting the requirements. But your classrooms are in Allentown. Why we're failing is because the teacher's set up to fail. They have 32 students, a third of them are special ed, a third don't speak English, and a third are regular. And then they have 10-15 minutes to do the Sapphire program, to do the attendance. So now you have 30 minutes, and you have students that are all over the place. So I don't know any teacher, no matter how poor or good, can teach. And in high school, or in Dira, our physical education teachers are 72 to 83 students in one class. How they're teaching, I don't know. And that's what our taxpayers are paying for.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Since the teachers get less pay, is that, well, less than public school, but more than parochial school? And applications are always coming in. In your opinion, why do you feel that you have more applicants for a job that pays a lot less with a lot less benefits than a public school applying to a charter school?
Well, and I don't know about the salaries at the cyber school. I just know for our school. First of all, I want to clarify. The benefit package is interesting because for some reason we're mandated to provide a comparable benefit package to the public school. So we do have decent benefits for our staff. I think, and I know, people could want to teach in our school. I mean, think about it. You have a lot of opportunity to teach the way you want to teach in a creative way. What we have in our vision and mission, and the reason I was drawn to this school is because I've been studying education my whole life, and it's all of what the school needs to be. The hands-on, project-based, the real-life learning. And we, one of the books that the school founders really were focused on was the book No Child Left Inside. You know, knowing how good the outdoors are for children. So when you teach at 7 Gen, you go on field trips with your kids. Hiking is a regular part of the week, that occurs in the school where, you know, teachers are encouraged to have the children outside. They do gardens, they walk down to the town library, they're out. I mean, it's a great place to be a teacher because of that. There's nobody, and the teachers there, you know, are like what I believe that, you know, and again, with the experience I've had, you know, so it's time to look to next year, and parents say, well, oh geez, I don't want my child to have that teacher or this teacher. And to me, you know, we're pretty much a school where you wouldn't request a teacher. You would be happy with any of the teachers. That's what I believe all schools should be. But they're not.
I would have you fall into AY short of the side person. You do a lot better job, I can see that.
You gotta keep half his kid.
Or you get an award,
I have
hang
more
on the wall
fun.
maybe, you give him $5,000 for being a good guy.
No,
Well, we'll just stick to asking questions on the subject.
yeah, and, you know, that's right. I mean, we just do our thing and, you know, who's to judge?
Are you all teaching script penmanship? Because I was just on a scholarship committee, and all the people who applied for the scholarship all printed their forms. Nobody wrote anything out. They obviously are not already as seniors in Emmaus High School. They gave away 3 scholarships. I don't know, they had 25 or 30 different applicants. Not one was written in script. And they apparently don't know.
Well, we currently still just serve 7 through 12, grades 7 through 12, so we hope they have learned it somewhere else at this point. However, when we begin K through 6, that's something we'll have to ask how they're going to handle. I don't know how much they're going to teach.
Like, how can you sign your name if you can't sign it?
That's another classic discussion in schools. I don't know if it, you know, I know when we had the Palmer method in the Procus School when I was a student, and you know,
We had boards full of
yeah.
letter.
And so we've had those discussions, and we're currently purchasing a handwriting program for the lower grades because it's a good program that people used and liked. And then, you're right. I mean, it's like a dying art, cursive writing.
It's not an art.
Well, yeah, but and we are working. Yeah, we do want our children to learn how to write in what well cursive or script.
I mean, if you look what was written 300 years ago by Jefferson and Washington and Franklin, this is beautiful stuff.
Do you know what's funny? I have you know a notebook that I write notes in when I'm meeting with people. So today there was a boy and a 5th grader who had a little conflict yesterday, and I didn't get to finish meeting with him. So he came in and I said, now what were we saying? And he goes, no, you wrote it down there. And he said, you wrote it like George Washington, right? And I was like, and I'm thinking, that's what he's calling the cursive writing, George Washington writing. So that's funny you should say that.
I taught my kids how to write cursive. They choose not to. I don't know why. I think a lot has to do with everything's computerized now. I just think that, I mean, I encourage them to write.
Ask them to write an essay with a pen and paper.
Yeah, I mean,
It goes a lot faster if you can write script.
that is true.
Twice as fast.
I get the argument that it's not, but I mean, it's very true. I do think it is something that is going to the wayside, and it's not enforced. But so much of the assignments, I don't know about you all, but they're done through the computer, and there's no need to do writing. Their journaling's all on the computer. Everything's computer-based.
You didn't teach them to use ASDF, semicolon until they were 7th or 8th grade. They'd have to learn the other.
You're absolutely right.
So you don't have to go to the bank in the morning, you don't have to sign your name.
Anymore? You don't. Everything's automatic. My kids do. My kids, they have to sign their, they receive checks there.
It's part of who you are. I have to show my driver's license, everything I do,
Yeah.
health-wise, otherwise. So what is your name in writing?
Oh yeah, they have to sign their they have a signature. They can't print it. But also when you have cursive writing, it is not the neatest of things when they choose to do it in a hurry and therefore is unlegible. So you're trading one for another.
Joe, do you have a question?
Yes, I went to the Sargent School, parameters for enrollment, and how would you they enroll? And then we're done, I wanted to ask the charter school for the field trips, do the parents drive, or how would they get where they're going? Is it all local and walking, so?
Because we are a public school, we have no barriers to entry. So a student enrolls just by filling out an enrollment form with us, producing a birth certificate, immunization records, transcripts, proofs of residence, so that we know which school district to bill. And we place them depending on their transcripts. So to be quite honest, we're still enrolling students now, and that may sound very odd to you, but we have very unusual situations. Of course, students can move into the district at any time, and rather than sign up with their local school, they may come to us. In addition, we have students that are calling saying, I can't take this anymore. My child is being bullied at the school. I won't send that child back. I know there are only 4 weeks left in the school. We must leave. So we are open at this point and continuing to enroll. And so there are a lot of ways that we can enroll. We suggest they enroll online, but we have paper applications too, and we're happy to take that. And also, I should point out that we also have field trips. A little harder because they are statewide, so not as many students can partake, but we keep working on bringing more to their local areas so more students can do that.
So as far as our field trips, if they're not within walking distance, parents aren't allowed to drive. We can get a bus. So, and sometimes we have a little of our, in our budget, we allot some money for field trips, and then we ask parents to contribute, pay for part of it. And then we also have a practice where when parents pay, they can check a little box and pay for 2. So that, our children that, there's issues with poverty levels, we always, make sure, of course, that everybody gets to go.
We haven't given this fourth lady a chance to do anything. Do we? I think we ought to like to.
They're together.
I just listen.
Yes. Two for cyber charter. Is there a requirement that an adult be in the home, especially since you're in the higher grades? And also with this running that you're doing, like renting the hotel or going to the library, running around, making sure the tests are taken, are all of those costs coming out of that per student allotment that you're getting?
So we don't have a requirement that there is an adult at home. We do have older children from 7 through 12, so we don't have that requirement. In terms of our elementary, we will have a requirement that someone is home with the child because they are going to need that supervision going through coursework and that kind of thing. In terms of the cost, that's something that we have to budget for the PSSAs because we do so much traveling. Even hotel stays for the staff going, because Pennsylvania is really a big state, and so we do have to travel pretty far to be able to reach all of our students. We don't want any family to have to drive more than 30 minutes to get to a test site. So we really try very hard to make it convenient so that we have everyone participate.
Does everybody have a Learjet?
No,
That
I would like one.
That widens your number of 30-minute distances.
Oh, yes, that's for sure.
So you stood on 80% of what we pay public school, and then we pay public school transportation, grants for this, and grants for hotels for them to go to functions other places. But you have to take 80% of, say, is it what, 11,000 now or 12,000? But it's different again. Yeah, because I think Allentown's about 12,000 per child, so you would get 10,000, and you have to make do with tutoring, with transportation, with traveling, hotel, for everything.
Transportation is provided by the district. The district has to provide the transportation, so some of that 20% goes to that for kids that need busing. But we have students, in order for a student to get bused, the district has to be within 10 miles of the school. So if the edge of the district is within 10 miles of the school, but the student lives 10 miles out that way, they still have to get bused to our school. And we have people driving from, as I mentioned last time I was here, from Strasbourg. And we have staff. Oh my goodness, they drive far. But we have some problems with some of the districts with the busing, one in particular now, and I just really wish we could get that money that they spend on the bus and do it ourselves, so we could have, better supervision for the kids, because they have long rides, some of them.
Because at Allentown, I was there when they gave them trouble. Allentown School District tries to stop all charters. Their goal is, they're taking our money. So I always love to get up and say, but you failed 15 years, so maybe we should take more money. Because you're doing it with less, which is the truth. Because I let them know, $2,270 million we have spent in 15 years of pay. And we're giving you 80% and you are succeeding. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. This is my music hat on. I own a violin shop in Emmaus, and my life's work is music. So how does that factor into all levels of education?
Well, we have a music teacher, and she has, every student gets music once a week, but she also does instruments. And our music teacher has a dream. She, wants to have a band. She wants to have a chorus. And one of the things that I have in my vision for the school is, one of the things we talk about is that we integrate the fine arts. So we're going to be doing a lot of work over the summer of how we can open some, we have some boxes or, things in that school that I see that we could be a little more flexible, even more than we are, and get more music throughout our curriculum than we do right now. But we definitely, and that's one of the things, my art teacher was upset today. She said, some of my best students are going to the performing arts school, the new middle school. I said, well, we have to say why, and what are they doing that, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we integrating art more into our curriculum? That's one of the things that we could be doing more of, so definitely is a focus.
As a cyber school, we actually do have music. The students are required to take classes in music. We do have state standards that we have to meet, but we also enhance it. We ship out guitars to the kids so they can actually have lessons. And because we are doing virtual classes, this is an opportunity for the kids to actually get lessons from their teachers. So the teacher will be on camera, and the students log in and can actually get lessons online. So we've become very creative in how to figure out how to make things work at a distance. Whether we're using multiple cameras and having the kids log into different classrooms, we really try to think out of the box, because you can ship the kids things, the teacher will have the same things in front of them, and they're doing it together. The kids will do it at home, the teacher is doing it in front of them, demonstrating, and the kids will follow along. So we really have become really good at figuring out how to make that work.
Well, I'll vouch for online lessons because I do them myself. And
Yes.
they work very, very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Question just on like the cyber school, the lessons, just like that. Once you have, you say, some people look at them later. Can that be something where they're recorded and the kid can go back as often as they want?
Yes, all the live classes are recorded, and they stay live links on the student's course page, if you will. And so the student can go back 2 or 3 times. If they're having a test and they want to review, they can go back and watch it again. They can fast forward it to just to the point that they missed it, or to the section that they want to see again. So it's always there. It's archived for them for the entire quarter.
How do you feel about e-books in the schools?
Well, because our books are online.
So that's an e-book.
Well, do you mean like a Kindle?
At the moment, most of our books are online on the computer. I think it would be great if our students could download them onto Kindles. However, if you're talking about another piece of equipment, we would have to provide for that.
So if you say to read a novel as part of their curriculum, is it always online?
No.
Or can they go to and read it in bed?
We often mail them books as well. And for some students who require physical textbooks, some of our special education students, for example, require physical textbooks. We do ship those as well. But many of the textbooks are online. The novels we generally ship to the student at will. But you do raise an interesting question with the ebooks, because they could so easily be delivered to a portable device, and we're always looking at ways that we can serve the student. For example, coming into this kindergarten through 6th grade opportunity, although I don't think we're going to do this, we are looking at giving them a tablet as opposed to a laptop. And so if they have a tablet, they could download the Kindle app, and we could supply their books that way if necessary. So we're always thinking about delivery.
I think technology is certainly something that any school needs to embrace to some degree to prepare students and give students the tools that are available to them. We, again, because of our limited resources, have a need in that area. And I think that's, things are changing so rapidly with technology. And right now, we do have some, and we're looking to purchase a little bit more for next year. So certainly our students need to be able to use any tool that's available. And I see us getting more tools that can be to go on hikes with the kids, and get more things, handheld things for them to take out into the field to use for their learning.
How can we as taxpayers help you as charters and cyber school and homeschooling and other things get the point across to the public schools that we want more, being that is effective? What can we do?
I think it's being addressed in the fact that the school district is moving into the cyber school. So I think that they realized that there is a need and that they have to address it. And that's where they're developing their programs. As far as, I mean, I keep getting letters as, please come and check out our cyber school, because there is that need. What else they can do? I mean, if they want to give me the money back, I mean, I would definitely use it. But I think that they are doing the best, moving in the direction. I mean, they obviously want to keep the students within the school system, and that's how they're going to do it. What they can provide elsewhere, they're already providing us with being able to partake in the sports and the band and that type of thing. I don't know about Allentown School District. I've heard several, nightmares for them, but what they can do for me as a homeschooler, I mean, I really don't know what else they can do to help me.
I think the way I heard your question is, what can the public do to support these alternatives, correct?
I thought what they can do to inform the school district to help us. For me, I don't know what else they could do. I think that they are, they're trying to draw me in by offering an alternative type of school where I'm still at home with them, and they really can't offer me anything more. There's nothing other than giving me my money back.
I think first of all, the fact that you're here tonight is, and to get the information, because one of the things that's troublesome to my school community is when we hear people say some of the things that you mentioned, they're taking our money and we don't have enough money for the budget because of the charter schools or whatever. And, just to get the facts straight is important. And, I really want to commend Mrs. Gotches-Lynn, who, she got on the school board. And what was really cool last night when we were on the agenda finally and the charter was approved, Lynn spoke before they took the vote. And what she said was really amazingly so awesome. Because she said it's about, so now there's a school choice, which there's never been for public school. And the way Lynn put it was really, really wonderful. What can we learn? Like, what can we learn from each other, and how do we work together? It's not about competing. And one thing we've noticed from my school is, on the East Penn website now, there's a button to click on about all the things they're doing with gardens, with the environment, which project-based, with hands-on. And so that's awesome, because that's good for kids. And that's like Lynn said, it's about children. It's not about, who's better. It's about kids. And, that's what drives us. Those of us who are, want to do the best for kids. That's the main thing. And I think that, again, like, what can you do to help us? We do have events, and, if you can support our events, but, being vocal and questioning and, having the correct information is awesome. And I'm so grateful to all of you. It feels really good to not be criticized as, what are you trying to do, going against the status quo. It's just about what's good for kids, and we have the opportunity to do it, so let's do it.
I was going to ask Paula, just as far as the homeschooling again, your children I know are teenagers anyway, not upper teenagers.
13, 16.
Yeah, okay. Junior, sophomore, something like
I
that.
have 2 freshmen and a sophomore.
Okay. And you do the homeschooling for them?
Yes, well, yes, up until, now they are enrolled in a cyber school, but I had done traditional, but they've never been in a brick and mortar.
But you still are there helping out,
Absolutely.
doing all that. That I think probably helps a lot too for cyber schools.
Yes.
Whenever that the parent actually takes a good interest in it.
I think you have to be there and support your kids. And I think this form of education proves that parents are there. You have parents that are involved with your kids. I think we take more of an interest in what's going on and want to be involved with our kids. At least from a homeschooling standpoint, I still consider myself a homeschooler, even though my kids do take online classes. I'm still at home with them. I know what's going on. I know what their education is. I can question their whatever's coming through. So I absolutely want to know what's going on. And I think a lot of public schools maybe have the downfall of parents aren't involved. They don't know where their children are lacking. They don't know what's happening throughout the day. And sometimes it comes too late to them. Nothing's brought to their attention soon enough to address whether they're being bullied or they're lacking just the general knowledge that they fall behind and it's not caught soon enough, that type of thing. I'm on top of it. If my kid is struggling, I know right then and there if they're not getting it, and I can address it, and I can address it with them to take the steps that they need to get that foundation and learning and to continue building on that. If you miss a step somewhere along the line, it can affect you down the road. So if you get it right away, I'm there right away to do that.
Another thing is to be for cyber school and homeschool. They're like individuals, you're in your own little world, we'll say, doing this stuff. Now we're going to go to college, and we're going to go on to the campus, possibly. How do you think socially, what effects might there be in that step, that transition?
I really don't worry about my kids in a social situation at all. I guess because since day one I've homeschooled them, I have introduced them to all ages. We interacted with people of all ages. Since they were 8 years old, we've gone to the Phoebe home in Allentown and interacted with we participated in an intergenerational program there where the kids would go and meet with the residents and do activities. And to this day, we still do that once a month. To me, that was important so that not just, they can talk to someone of their own level. That tends to be the silliness and the group mentality, but they can also interact with anyone of any age. They were with kids younger than themselves. They were with kids that were older than themselves. I don't have any fears of them going. I know that they're going to go into a classroom. They know what they need to do. They're independent learners. They can go in there, take what they need to do. They know how to take notes. I've taught them, the basics and what they need to know. I don't ever have that doesn't even cross my mind.
What we find with the cyber students is that they're very well prepared for college, and that because they're students working at home, they have to learn how to manage their time. So they are very focused. They learn how to work with distractions that may be going on. So I know that when a lot of kids go off to college, it's the first time that they're actually on their own and someone's not bugging them about what things to do, and they don't have the planner that everyone gives them. Our kids learn from a very young age that they are being held accountable for the work that they have to do. So I think in that sense, they're very well prepared for college. In terms of the social, the kids have a strong self-esteem, and I think that when they're not being bullied, beaten down, they're going to run into problems going to college. But when a child has a healthy self-esteem, they can interact with others, and confrontations aren't an issue. They can be assertive if they need to. They can speak up for themselves. They can advocate for themselves. You know, because this is something that they learn to do in a safe and healthy environment. So.
I just have a comment. I want to thank all of you ladies for taking the time from your very busy schedules to come out and share your input on the educational aspect.
And I too, for CEPTA, and thank everyone for coming out. This was a wonderful night. I thought it was very informative. And thank you again. If you want to partake over here, handouts, anybody wants more information?
I just want to say, if you'd like to come and visit Seven Generations and come into the building, just call. There's a website. The school number is 610-421-8844. Call, let Kim or Randy know you'd like to come, and they'll give you a tour. And it's pretty cool to see. Please feel free to come over.
Are we still rolling? We still got the